is now recognized.
Thank you for yielding. What's the difference between us and them? It was just on full display. We care about everyday Americans. They don't. We make life better for everyday Americans. They don't. We get things done for everyday Americans, and they don't. Insulin, life-saving and life-sustaining. It's been around for more than 100 years. It's off patent. There are no research and development costs associated with it.
Here it is, folks, stimulus checks. If you're on Social Security, SSI and SSDI, and if you're looking for a fourth stimulus check from President Biden, listen to this. The good news, everybody, is that payments worth $500 are starting to go out to hundreds of people. The funds are a part of the Essential Employee Premium Pay Program, which is actually providing a total of $460 million of stimulus aid to eligible workers in states like Massachusetts. There will be 2 rounds of payments, with the first set worth a total of $250 million. And according to a statement by the state, the first wave of checks is going out now, and it's actually going to be continued to be mailed to 200 to 500,000 residents over the next few weeks. So Massachusetts residents are going to be eligible for first round payments if based on filed 2020 Massachusetts tax returns. Their income from employment was at least $12,750. The Office of the Secretary of Administration and Finance said that this is the equivalent of working 20 hours a week for 50 weeks at a minimum wage as of 2020. It's also required, everybody, that an individual's income must be 300% below the poverty level, the federal poverty level, that is. So listen to this, folks, because here's where it gets interesting. In the state of New Jersey, millions of dollars are actually available to people who missed out on receiving any federal stimulus checks in 2021. The one-time payment is part of the excluded New Jerseyans Fund. New Jersey's governor has set aside $40 million in federal money to be used to help families who do not qualify for the economic stimulus checks that the federal government sent out last year. Hundreds of thousands of individuals did not receive any form of economic aid, everybody, and unemployment benefits is included in that, all since the crisis began. Many were actually essential employees like janitors and kitchen staff who lost their jobs during the beginning of the times of the crisis. So here's what you need to know about the fourth stimulus check. Well, if the $1,400 stimulus check is going to be approved, we're going to hear it from the IRS. According to the IRS, Americans that meet the eligibility requirements will be able to claim additional payments when they file their taxes, and they could actually be eligible for the full $1,400 check. And one way Americans could be eligible for a full $1,400 payment is if they had a child in 2021. And that's because of the 2021 economic impact payments. They were based on a person's 2020 or 2019 return. And so, any eligible dependent that came into the family last year wouldn't have been included in the payment amount. Those who have actually a child who qualifies for the recovery pay credit can claim the dependent when they file their 2021 tax return this year. And unlike the first 2 rounds of payments, which limited dependent eligibility to just children, the third stimulus check made accommodations for dependents of all ages. So a person who adds a parent or grandparent or another eligible dependent to their household could be eligible for a $1,400 stimulus check. And if a person didn't add a dependent to their family in 2021, then they still may be able to claim the recovery pay credit on their 2021 tax return. Since the 2021 economic impact payments, everybody, were based on a person's 2020 income, they can actually be eligible for additional money, especially if they lost income in 2021. Now, folks, that is the good news. But for instance, a single filer made $80,000 in 2020. They would not have qualified for a stimulus check because of the income cap. But if their AGI dropped to $75,000 in 2020, then you can claim a $1,400 stimulus check when you file your tax return this year. And the IRS has already began mailing letter 6475 to Americans. The letter is intended to detail a person's 2020 economic impact payment. Taxpayers might find the letter helpful in determining if they are owed any more money from the stimulus checks. Folks, will President Biden send out stimulus checks this year? If you think he should, and if you think he will, then just tell me in your comments down below.
Yet so many Americans pay approximately $4,000 a year for insulin. That's unacceptable, un-American, and unconscionable. And that is why Democrats are doing something about it. The Affordable Insulin Now Act will lower out-of-pocket costs to $35 per month. That's not fiction, that's fact. That's not hyperbole, That's help. That is game changing for everyday Americans. Once again, Democrats deliver for the people.
The gentleman.
Yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of the Affordable Insulin Now Act and the underlying rule. It is unconscionable that in the richest country on the planet that our planet's ever seen, millions of Americans, our neighbors, are forced to choose between buying medicine and paying their gas bill. Americans pay more than 10 times the price of insulin compared to other similar countries. 10 times. In fact, 1 in 4 of our neighbors who rely on insulin have rationed or skipped doses due to the cost. And I want folks to think about that. A quarter of the people prescribed insulin for their medical condition have risked their life to be able to afford another month's worth of insulin. This is shameful, Mr. Speaker. H.R. 6833 caps out-of-pocket costs for insulin at no more than $35 per month in Medicare and commercial health insurance. This cap will be a lifesaver for millions of our neighbors who currently pay, again, 10 times more the price of insulin compared, again, to similar wealthy nations. How can these companies sell the exact same drug here for 10 times the price of other nations? Because corporate greed and price gouging are not just permitted in our country, but encouraged.
Will just continue working to ensure a smooth transition to repayment in May. The Biden administration's decision in December to reverse itself and extend the freeze on student loan payments and interest for another 3 months has encouraged activists who believe they can convince the White House to outright cancel large swaths of student loan debt. The new deadline for restarting monthly student loan payments and interest is May 1st. On the campaign trail, Biden backed $10,000 per borrower amount as an economic measure to respond to the crisis. So I believe that President Biden should keep his promise to the American people at least and cancel student loan debt. The Education Secretary Miguel Cardona has even said that the administration is continuing to have conversations about broader loan forgiveness even as it touts the debt it is canceled by expanding or improving existing programs. And now Nancy Pelosi has said that to revive President Biden's stalled Build Back Better package, Democrats may need to rebrand and make big changes to the massive climate and spending bill. Biden, during a news conference, has suggested that the House-passed Build Back Better Act may need to be broken up into chunks and then pieced back together to see what could win support from Joe Manchin, whose opposition derailed the $2.2 trillion package last month. And Pelosi took issue with Biden's use of the term chunks, but largely agreed with his assessment that the package would need to be changed again to gain more support from other lawmakers. Pelosi rattled off the major pieces that she would like to see in a revamped spending bill,